Unless you've been living under a rock, by now most of you should know the show, The Mandalorian. In the show, the Mando is paid for a job with ingots of stolen Beskar, which is a metal that even a lightsaber can't cut through. It can heat it up to the point where it glows, but it cannot cut it. Instantly, all I could see was what it was based off of, an ingot of pattern-welded steel, or, as modern blade-making pop culture calls it, Damascus. But this is not simple Damascus. While yes, it's roughly a straight-line billet, what makes this hard for the recreations is it's all end-grain, as in you can see each layer of steel on its flat side going up and down the face. Normally, this would not be seen except from the narrow sides if it were most blades. Many smiths have made this, and few have done it right, in my opinion. So let's up the game and hammer it all by hand. The steels that I will be using are 1075 and 1018. Since they're both 10X series steels, they will forge well to each other pretty easily. To make a layered steel billet, the steel first needs to be clean of rust and surface impurities. Being as flat as possible also helps. Its bare metal must be shown through. Only then will it accept the power that fire and my hammer have to offer. I have the forge running for a little heat. It was 16 degrees the night I shot this. Now I start to measure out the bars for cutting, and will alternate them in the stack, so when etched it will show the contrasting layer pattern you're used to seeing. I was for sure not ready for this level of work, as I started this about a week after surgery. I could only do a few steps each day before being exhausted, but the last thing the world needs is another excuse, so I did what I could to get this done for you all. If you want to see full versions of my videos, some even twice as long, check out my Patreon. This item will also be given away to one of my Patreon subscribers. The link is in the description. Flux is applied to help keep the steel clean of scale, which will inhibit a solid forge weld. Just a few light taps to set the bars together, and the clamps can be removed. After this, I can forge it more aggressively. When these different layers of steel are hammered at the right temperature, with the right force, being prepared in the right way, they will become one inseparable bar of steel with a million possible patterns that can be made at the smith's discretion. This bar is now 1. For my use, though, it will need to be much longer. Not using a power hammer, this will take a great deal of time, but a worthy task requires worthy effort. I'm removing random bits of the billet and will forge it back flat. This will help create some nice motion and undulation in the layers, as is visible on the example from the show. So far, every day of forging has been below freezing, and yet I still have not found time to finish the walls of my shop. To make it an end-grain visible bar, I cut the billet in half and stack its ends up. Forge weld this and do what I call a zigzag cut and weld, which if you do everything 100% right, it will work. It is hard and it does take time to master, but if you are a hand hammerer, it is a way to get your layer count higher in a little bit less time. Science and magic are very much the same. The flux is 1 part spell component, 1 part chemical inhibitor. I suppose the truth is in the eye of the beholder. enter the hard part. Hammering at night is powerful. The ring of the anvil in its rhythm with my body. The night is a place of elements. The air was below freezing, the steel was yellow hot. Two forces that will balance out in time. All forces balance in time. Much like the Jedi and Sith, their abilities and power being their religion, my smithy is mine. I have the whole universe of creation right before my eyes. The billet is now rough forged, though it needs tested. True Beskar won't be cut by a lightsaber. I had to turn to a tool from my past life, a part I thought was behind me, to see if I did my job. I am not the hero. Guess it worked. While I was smoothing out the billet, I could start to see its layers appear, and I was not happy with it. I should have folded the billet a few more times to get the layer count up, so sadly I scrapped this and started over. Pretty much the exact same process I used to make this, but instead of X layers starting out, I tripled it with much thinner stock and folded the heck out of it before drawing out the zigzag folding. Anyway, now on to hand finishing. To expose the layered grain in folded steel, it has to be sanded smooth. Normally, I take it up to 400 grit. This is a time-consuming process, but it really lets you get to know the piece. Every spot that is slightly lower than the rest, parts where the steel is higher, you feel its edges where you pushed it. You feel your creation underhand. Enough time goes by, it becomes a small part of you. Etching the billet reveals its pattern. One steel will etch a little faster than the other, and one will oxidize more, allowing you to see the pattern I hammered out. This is my ingot of Beskar. I'm leaving it unstamped as I will be giving this to a Patreon supporter, and they can choose what to have stamped on the bar in the lower right corner. Anything can be done with time and will. Never fear to start completely over. I am happy I remade this. It's exactly what I want. I can end this project happy.